Hey everybody, this is Brent Porcio with 3X Pitching. I wanted to put this video together for you to show you what 3X Pitching is all about. I developed this revolutionary approach to pitching velocity, and then it's more than just the information in it. And so the reason how I came across this and how I developed this revolutionary approach to pitching velocity is because I was just like you in my career, looking for more velocity. And I had a major obstacle. I had rotator cuff surgery, and doctors were telling me I wouldn't play again. So not only was I looking for velocity, but I was looking for what it would take for me to come back and play baseball and play and pitch again, and not only just pitch again, but play it at the highest levels of the game and finish out a great career. So I knew that what I was learning wasn't working, because that's more than likely why I had the injury. And I knew that if I was going to be successful in developing a revolutionary approach, that I was going to have to find some significant information and then figure out and learn how to implement that information into my delivery and affect my delivery so I could reach my velocity goal. So I knew it wasn't going to be an easy road. So that's why this approach to pitching has been 10 years in the making. I've been doing this for a long time. Not only did it work for me in my career, reach my velocity goals of 94 miles per hour and played a little professional career, but I've helped hundreds or many others do the same as well. And some of those are on this site here. And if you needed any more information on those others who have had success, please contact me. That have had success with this program. But where I really started with this revolutionary approach to pitching velocity was this case study here. And this comes from a great source, the American Journal of Sports Medicine. These other case studies I have all come from great sources. The other sources are Andrews Sports Medicine Institute, the National Pitching Association. So ultimately, I've tried to find reputable sources and to pull this information together. And this study specifically is really what started or opened my eyes to the fact that I was more than likely not being taught correctly about pitching mechanics and pitching velocity. I learned after this case study that conventional wisdom is a problem in baseball. It's wrapped around the pastime and not heading ultimately in the direction of science, which science is really what's changing, has been changing this game. But it's starting to come along. But the reason 3X pitching is revolutionary is because you're going to hear those in Major League Baseball and those well-known coaches out there start talking about some of this science here. But what they're not going to tell you is how it actually can help you individually. And that's what 3X pitching does. It will help each one of you reach your velocity goals. It's going to tell you how to take all this great information, how to learn from the great pitchers that are throwing, like Chapman, who just threw 105 miles per hour in a game, how we can take what they're doing and implement it into our delivery and see similar effects in our delivery. Okay, so let's first go over this information that really is what sprung this approach into action, and then I'm going to tell you how 3X pitching is going to allow you to take this information and have it, change you and affect you to where you can reach your velocity goals. Okay, so this first study was called an EMG analysis of the shoulder in throwing and pitching. It was performed by a well-known doctor in baseball called Dr. Jobe. He's the one who developed the Tommy John surgery. He's the one who developed the Jobe training, which is a rotator cuff training program that maybe you've heard of before. So he's a very reputable doctor, and this is a very well-known study here. And like I said, this study here, what it does is, or what they did was, they took an EMG machine which can test or can measure the muscle activity. So what muscles are firing and what muscles are not firing. And what they did is they went through each stage of the delivery, and they found out in what stages what muscles were firing in the arm. This was specifically in the arm. And like you'll see here in the cocking phase, this is when the arm comes up behind the head before it throws the ball. And it says it had a sequential muscle activation pattern of first deltoid activity, followed by sit muscles, and finally by subscapularis muscles. Sit is supraspinatus inferior teres minor, which is rotator cuff muscles. So it's basically saying that the deltoids and the rotator cuff muscles were firing while the arm was coming up behind the head. That makes sense. Now this is the key part of this study here that opened my eyes and began discovery and development of 3x pitching. Acceleration stage. So that's when the arm is moving forward. It had a lack of muscle activity, even though the arm was accelerating forward in space. So this is telling us through this study that when the arm was moving forward in the throwing delivery, there was a lack of muscle activity. So that opened my eyes, because I had been taught all my career that things of pull the ball down, get out front with the ball, get on top of the ball. All these things that were telling me during the acceleration stage I'm supposed to be doing something with my arm. And this is telling me through the acceleration stage, nothing. There's a lack of activity with the arm. All right, so that really is what triggered something in my brain to say, hey, I've been taught incorrectly here. What is going on? Why are so many people teaching us incorrectly? Maybe this is why arm injuries have gone up 700% in the past 5 years. We are teaching pitchers incorrectly. And that's really where I started to dig in and really discover some excellent information. So I found the next study, which this is from the ASMI.org, the American Sports Medicine Institute, which is Dr. Andrews' this is Dr. Andrews' institute. And this case study is awesome. This case study I used countless times, because it's the comparison of high velocity and low velocity pitch deliveries. And it's full of valuable information, but there's one part that really opened my eyes to 3x pitching. And of course, what they're doing is they have two control groups here. One is a low velocity control group, the other one is a high velocity control group, and they're comparing the difference between them. And like I said, it's constant, just amazing information in this study. But right here really is the diamond in the rough. It says another finding of interest is that early in the pitching motion, the two groups were dissimilar in the timing of their movements, while the later movement timing was much more similar. This implies that early trunk and torso movements are more varied among pitchers than late arm movements. And I was like, wow. So in the early part of the delivery, low velocity and high velocity pitchers are different, but later they're the same. So that tells you that something is going on early in the delivery during the early trunk and torso movements. And this is really when I discovered, or I saw that pitching should be broken down into two phases. And the way I break it down, of course, there's tons of components, which the rest of this study here talks about more components, more parts. But if you can break it down in two phases, you can really understand what's going on here. And that's what I did with 3x pitching. So the two phases are: the first phase is the stride phase. The second phase after front foot is the throwing phase. So what this study is saying is during the stride phase, there is more difference between low velocity to high velocity pitchers than during the throwing phase. And to me, that is so true. I've done hundreds of hours of video of analysis. And what I have learned is that is so true. In these high velocity analysis that I've done to low velocity, I can see the stride phase is the difference. Of course, the low velocity pitchers, they stride shorter and slower than the high velocity pitchers who stride longer and faster. And if you'll notice in the stride phase, we're not throwing the ball. Our arm is not even moving. So that's why I call the second phase the throwing phase, because when our front foot lands, that's when we throw the ball. So basically the stride phase is where we're developing power. So when our front foot lands, then we can transfer that power into the velocity of the ball. And then that was it. That is what then of course I trained with Kurt Hester, who's he's a legend in the strength and conditioning world. He taught me about triple extension, how that is the most effective way for athletes to generate power. And then I put two and two together. I said, okay, the stride phase is what is the difference between high velocity, low velocity pitchers. High velocity pitchers are striding harder and faster. They're generating more power than low velocity pitchers, and that Kurt was teaching me that the Olympic lifts were training triple extension, which is the most effective way for athletes to generate power. So I said there must be, and I looked at the mechanics of it, and I could see triple extension occurring in these high velocity pitchers, and I said, bam, that's the key. That's 3x pitching. Then I developed the approach, how to implement it through the training programs into the 3x pitching package or my program, and it went in and it helped me. I was throwing 94 miles an hour. I got picked up to play minor league ball. Then when I retired from minor league ball, I started training and coaching other pitchers to do the same thing. It started helping them. Boom, they were seeing the same benefits, and it's taken off, and it's come all the way to this point. It's come all the way to you, and it can do the same for you. But just to show you that I'm not the only one to saying this, and this is just not something I'm completely making up here. It's all going in the same direction. There's others talking this way as well, and I'm going to pull up this great video here that was on ESPN. You can go to espn.go.com about Chapman and Tom House. He's a doctor, Dr. Tom House. He started the National Pitching Association. He's coached all the great pitchers. He is talking right here about Chapman about the exact same thing, so I want you to watch this.
First, his stride. The typical stride length for a pitcher is about 87% of his height, but Chapman's stride averages 120% of his 6'4" height, approaching 7.5 feet. His stride isn't just long, it's fast, taking only 0.8 of a second, 15% faster than average pitchers. Next, shoulder turn. The twisting angles between his front hip and his back shoulder create massive torque.
80% of velocity comes from hip and shoulder separation.
Elite power pitchers like...
All right, and I wanted to finish with that. So 3x triple extension, you can see, is why, and I'll show that here, is why pitchers like Chapman, all the hard-throwing pitchers are able to have those stride lengths and stride speeds. But after front foot, the only way we can convert that into velocity through the throwing phase, it has to happen through hip to shoulder separation, which Tom House has proven that 80% of velocity comes through that. So like I say, 3x is the foundation of 3x pitching, and it is the key. But for it to be converted into velocity, we must learn how to generate optimal hip to shoulder separation, and that's what I call 3x torque. And you're going to learn that as well in 3x pitching, and that's just as critical as learning optimal triple extension. But just to give you some more example, I mean, here's a great example I have with what I use with Felix Hernandez. I mean, look at his stride length and stride speed. And when I talk about stride length and stride speed, those who are able to get that back leg completely extended before their front foot hits, which you'll see Felix doing right here perfectly, those are the pitchers that are getting that triple extension, which says that's as far as they can stride. And if they're able to pop it before their front foot lands, then they are moving at an incredible rate of speed. All right, and let's just go. All these great examples are doing this. Strasburg, even though he hurt himself because of his arm issues, the way he throws his arm back, I believe. But still, look, before front foot strike, he can get that back leg extended. I'm showing you this because more than likely you are not doing this. This really is the key, and this is what I've been finding. This is why there's that difference in the high velocity, low velocity pitchers early in the delivery, because these high velocity pitchers are getting triple extension before front foot strike. But I'm not leaving out hip to shoulder separation. Look how their shoulders are still closed. That's called 3x torque. That is key. All right, let's go to another example. Nolan Ryan, here's a legend. He does the same thing. Even with that high leg lift, he still gets that extended and through before front foot strike with the shoulders closed. All right, let's go to one more example here. Tim Lincecum, everybody's favorite, won the World Series. All right, just before he lands, back leg perfectly extended, shoulders still closed. That really is the key. That's why you see the X there. This is 3x pitching. This is the key. And like I said, it's more than just showing you this, guys. I know this. It's more than me just showing you this and trying to get you to do this in video analysis. It's actually having a program that's training you through velocity drills where you're developing the muscle memory to implement this into your delivery. And you're also generating the power that it's going to take out of your body to make this happen. And then once you start to do this, and you also learn through those velocity drills that are in 3x pitching on how that converts into velocity, then you are going to reach your velocity goals. You are going to easily increase 5 to 10 miles an hour on your fastball. And that's where, when I talk about the power comes from the Olympic lifts. The Olympic lifts are a big part of 3x pitching. And this is why it's so critical. Here's another case study. Research by Dr. John Garhammer exposes the lack of potential explosiveness that is inherent when bench pressing. So this article is about the bench press, but ignore the bench press. I'm waiting for you to see the most important part of it, which I'm going to tell you. Garhammer measured the power outputs of elite Olympic and power lifters. The highest average power output of any lift occurred during the second pull of the Olympic clean, which is called the hang clean. The second pull of the clean was measured at an incredible 52.6 watts per kilo of body weight. In comparison, the highest power outputs of elite male powerlifters were 12 watts per kilo of body weight during the squat and deadlift. The bench press sputted in at a very dismal 4 watts per kilo of body weight. What this is showing here, what Dr. John Garhammer's research is showing here, there is no lift that is more effective in generating or training the body to output power than the second pull of the clean, which is the hang clean. 52.6 watts per kilo of body weight of power that lift demands the athlete produce, as compared to the squat and the deadlift, which is only a low 12 watts per kilo of body weight. So there's no better lift, guys, and to generate that power than the Olympic lifts, especially the hang clean. And that power is what we're going to need to be able to generate a stride length and a stride speed of someone like Chapman here, who's able, like through that ESPN video, to hit 7.5 feet of a stride and move through it faster than the average pitcher. It's going to take that power that you're going to have to develop through training the Olympic lifts, which is the fusion system in 3x pitching. So you're going to get all this in 3x pitching. You're going to get everything you need to make this happen, to implement this into your pitching delivery. And there's also one more thing I'll bring into it. This will be a little bonus on this video. I'm kind of giving away a lot of my secrets here that is going to be in 3x pitching. But like I said, it's more than just the information, guys. I could probably sit here and give you all the information in 3x pitching. What you need is the program that's going to implement it into your delivery, and that's the most valuable part of 3x pitching. But here's the last piece of information: the stretch shortening cycle. That's when in the ESPN video, when Tom House talks about shoulder turn or hip to shoulder separation, that's creating is core torque, and that takes advantage of what's called the stretch shortening cycle. That's when the muscles, it is proven that when muscles stretch, they contract more explosively. All right, so here's a great example. Here it is talking more about the stretch shortening cycle. The implementation of stretch shortening program begins initially with the development of an adequate strength and conditioning base. Meaning, this is a program here that trains the stretch shortening cycle, your body to basically be able to generate more force from the stretch shortening cycle. So therefore you have to train it. And it's saying if you don't have a good strength and conditioning base, if you don't have a good strength and conditioning program, then this doesn't, training stretch shortening is not going to work. That's critical for you to enhance your body's ability to generate or to take advantage or generate more force out of the stretch shortening cycle. So here it talks more about how the stretch shortening exercises trains the neuromuscular system by exposing it to increased strength loads. Utilizing the strength reflex improves the ability of the nervous system to react with maximum speed to the lengthening muscle. This improved strength reflex allows the muscle to contract concentrically with maximal force. All right, so that's another big key in 3x pitching. You're going to learn that triple extension through the stride and into your front foot that force and speed it's going to generate is going to, if you keep your shoulders closed, is going to allow you to really stretch and torque your core out even more, and through the proper training of your body, then you can take advantage of that enhanced torque, and that's what's going to accelerate your arm without your arm having to do any of the work, and then that's going to convert into the velocity of the ball. Okay, so not like I said, I don't want to confuse you guys too much here. This is a lot of information, and this is something that you guys are probably going to have to study, for a good amount of time to really truly understand it. But like I said, that's not really the most important thing for you. The most important thing for you is that you have a program that works. It's proven to work. It's backed up by tons of scientific information to the point that your brain's going to explode. But more importantly, it has a program that's easy to follow. Takes a lot of hard work. It's very intense, but it's the program that you need for you to reach your velocity goals. It's going to teach you how to implement this into your pitching delivery. Okay, guys, so I hope this video helped and didn't just confuse you anymore. But if you have any questions, please contact me, guys. I'm here to help, and I really hope you enjoy this program, you benefit from this program, and you tell everybody about this program. But thanks for listening.